Okay, this is Red Strike from Vuca Simulations. It's about a hypothetical World War III set in 1989. Now I've got this set up for the C2 campaign. So this is a war that breaks out after a period of tension. So both sides are fairly well mobilised. They're not totally mobilised by any means, but they've got most of their forces on the board. Now this game, as you can see, it's quite a footprint. This is set up currently, this table, at 9 feet by 4 feet, and there's not a lot of spare room. Admittedly, I've got things like the reinforcement charts over there which don't need to be on the table. And to be honest, with all your airfield holding boxes here, these could be wall mounted quite easily. If you're going to wall mount them, just use blue tack. That's what I do. I blue tack everything anyways. People who watch my channel know this is just a form of cat proofing. So if either of the cats do get on the table, they can't really cause any damage. Comments on the setup. Now, a few of you who watch this channel realise I've just been in for an eye operation, so the setup on this has taken me forever, because I can, certainly for a couple of the days, I could barely see. So both eyes were watering really badly. the one that's been operated on and the other one, which is my good eye, were both watering, and that was difficult to set up. Apart from that, setup wasn't really that bad. They've got lots of nice little setup charts. I didn't find any problems really, apart from I got a unit I couldn't find a setup hex for, but it's a British Lynx anti-submarine helicopter. Now I've actually put it on the board with the British carriers. I'll have to check that up in the errata and see whether I can find out where that should be. Other things I'd talk about is, yeah, there was a couple of Russian units which were, well, I think they were either Russian or Czech. No, I think they were actually Czech. And it said set up in Olomouc Air Base. Now, Olomouc Air Base is not actually a holding box. Well, it is sort of. It's there's a strategic holding box called Group 4 that covers that particular airfield. So it should have said on the chart, setup chart, set up in Group 4 box rather than Olomouc. So, as I say, apart from that, I didn't see any great issues. Now, looking at the components are really nice. They're big counters, nice textured feeling on them. They've got pre-rounded corners. The thing I did find about this game, which was a bit annoying by my standards, is the map is damaged. What I'd call damaged, because it's not been folded properly when it's been put in the box. So you've got these sort of like lines, crease lines on the map. That affects both these maps. You can't really see it on this one, but the one with the open ocean, it's quite visible that there is some damage to the map. I don't consider that to be bad enough to warrant asking for replacement maps. I suspect a replacement map when it comes would be in the same state. It's the way they were folded. They were folded with the colour side inwards, and because when they fold, they were actually tucked in, and where it tucked in, it had bent the map. They should have been folded with the colour side out, and in such a way that you weren't folding a visible part of the map into another part of the map. It's a bit hard to explain, but I think it's just the way that the maps were actually placed in the box. I think this could have been avoided. I haven't found any other issues at the moment. Now, I've seen people do setup videos for this game, and I've seen one video which wasn't particularly positive about it, because he tried to set up the I think it was the folder gap scenario, and he found loads of problems with the setup. There was certain counters where you weren't told where they were, and it also assumed that certain things were in certain states, like whether a naval unit was in a port or actually undetected out at sea, etc. So things like that. As I say, I didn't find any of that in my setup. Just thinking other observations. Yeah, he made some observations about the complexity of the rules. Now, this is possibly the problem that I'm going to have with it. I've had a look at it, and it does look very, very complicated. Anyone who's played Under an Iron Sky will probably understand this. That there's a lot of mechanics all working together because of the modern battlefield. You know, your helicopters, airstrikes, missiles, special forces, chemical weapons, nuclear weapons, etc. There's a lot of moving parts. Now, there are a load of videos on Moe's gaming table done by the actual game designer, which look okay. I think the videos are too short myself, and I think they could have been done in a slightly better format if there'd been a video to, say, cover naval movement, naval combat, naval detection, rather than having 3 separate videos to do that. That's neither here nor there. As per usual, I'm going in feet first with this. I'm going to try and learn it as I'm playing it. So I don't know how that's going to go down. I'm hoping this is going to be a bit easier than I'm expecting it to be. The game only plays out for 15 turns. But I have noticed on the reinforcement tracks, they go up a lot further than that. Just grab this Warsaw Pact one here. Yeah, that goes up to game turn 38. So I don't know what all that is about. I've certainly looked at all the campaigns, and I can't see a campaign game with 38 turns on it. Unless it's something to do with the cards, because there's an optional set of cards which I think allows you to create the events that could lead up to a war. I don't know enough about it to comment any further than that, but yeah, if anyone knows just off the top of their head why there's a lot more game turns on the reinforcement charts for the C2 campaign than there is actually turns in the C2 campaign, according to the manual. That is the scenario manual. Can't really comment on anything else apart of manuals and tables and things. This is a bit intimidating, I suppose, the actual user tables chart. You get 2 of these. So, how many pages is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 pages of user tables. Now, admittedly, in a lot of these games, you're going to get handouts rather than a booklet. So you probably have 2 sets of double-sided handouts with probably about 8 pages in total, maybe more. So it's probably the format rather than anything else for a game of this complexity that makes that a bit intimidating. We've had a look at the main map. It covers the Baltic Sea, the approaches to the Baltic, and the central front, all the way down to the Alps. I noticed, yeah, it doesn't include Austria, because Austria's a neutral, so it doesn't give you the option of a Warsaw Pact offensive through Austria into the Alps, and it doesn't cover Italy, which is often covered in these games. One thing it does do, which I've never seen in any other game for hypothetical World War III, it actually goes all the way to Paris. Normally the game's sort of cut off at the French border, and assume if the Warsaw Pact get across the Rhine, it's pretty much game over. There is another map, a strategic map. Now this is interesting because this one actually allows you to play out the naval game in the North Sea, which is nice, but it does obviously add another level of complexity on the game. Because I noticed that if you know that Under an Iron Sky is a remake of Next War, they actually dropped the naval game from that because it was a hell of a lot of work and didn't actually add much to the game. Now this is interesting. I don't know, it's a lot of, as I say, quite a lot of extra rules on top of the game. It's not an optional thing. If you're playing the campaign, you're going to need this. Yeah, again here there is damage to this map because of the way it was folded. I'm not quite sure what this is. This is some sort of strategic map. It basically lists these big hexes. Each one of these big hexes is a hex on the strategic map, the way it goes out. I can't remember the exact scale, but it does work. So when you move from one map to another, you'll be going 1, 2, 3, and then when you cross the boundary, you start going like 13, 23, 33, etc. I think that's about it, all I'm going to say on this. The proof of this particular pudding is in the eating, so I'm going to start this and have a look at this. Game Time Zero is a special one for this campaign I'm playing, so it allows you to do some pre-offensive manoeuvres for both sides. There's some special rules for it, but yeah, it gets around the problem. If you didn't have that, a canny player is going to look at another player's setup and everything, and is going to be able to plan an offensive around the initial deployment. Whereas if you immediately start moving, you know, you're allowed to move up to half your movement allowance. It juggles it up a bit. It changes the situation, so it's not predictable when the attack goes in. Right, as I say, I've covered it all. 14 minutes, it's quite a bit. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get into this. Having this eye playing up at the moment doesn't help either. But here we go.